But with our attitude, every opportunity to fix something is an opportunity to get better. Every opportunity is a chance to show someone that you care, to demonstrate that you are there in their corner, because that's what leaders do.
Chad Peterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it.
What I want to talk about this morning is something that I feel like there's a lot of content around here lately, which it makes sense. And so I kind of wanted to dive into, what it takes to lead when times get tough. When times are tough, or there's uncertainty, or maybe even just faced with a challenge in the day-to-day business that could be viewed as a crisis or, an issue or something like that. Like, what do we need to be focused on in order to lead through really a world holistically that I don't think's getting any more certain. If anything, we're probably getting more uncertain, and probably have for quite a while. And so, any bad situation, there's only one way to come out of that. And it's my belief that good leadership is what's needed when a situation gets bad or there's a crisis or something like that. The reason I believe that is because in every situation, someone has to win, right? Like there's got to be someone that comes out on top, and likely there's someone who doesn't come out on top. And I think the cool thing about leadership is that we all have the choice as to where we are going to come out. And again, bad things are going to happen. I've said this many a times. I'm not up here saying that everything is the greatest thing that ever walked the face of the earth. Tough times are going to be had. Everyone has them. They take different shapes and forms. They happen sometimes when we least expect it, but bad things are going to happen. It's all a matter of what are the things that we're doing to continue to learn from that situation, continue to get better, and ultimately, hopefully come out on top, stronger and better at the end. And so I've really narrowed it down to kind of 5 things I think that are critical to focus in on when we think about leadership, and especially leadership in tough times. So I've mentioned this one, 100 times, but it really all starts with your attitude, right? We've talked about, an emotional response is usually what we get, that we are humans, we are emotional creatures. And so oftentimes when something bad or a little bit of adversity comes our way, we're going to have that natural kind of emotional response of, oh, this sucks. Crap. What are we going to do? And we've got to understand that that's perfectly normal, but then we've got to fight through that with our attitude. So once something has happened, now let's assess the situation and let's figure out how we're going to move through it. And to me, that is where the critical piece of attitude lies, right? It is, how are we going to react in adversity? And then how are we going to shape our attitude as we move forward to try to fix whatever happened, or, correct or get better? And I think a lot of this, when we have that emotional response, a lot of times the emotion that's invoked is fear. And fear can come in many different forms and fashions, right? It's, fear of change, fear of not knowing the answer. And as leaders, the one thing that we cannot show our team is fear, because our team is feeding off of everything that we do, good, bad, indifferent. And when we show fear, our team takes that on as well. And they may not even know the entire situation. There's a lot of things that go on around here that I obviously am aware of, but that may not be the greatest thing going on, or we need to fix this, or whatever it is. But the last thing I'm going to do is come out and say, sky's falling. This is not terrible. Everybody have a terrible day because I'm having one too. You're not going to do that. And when you say it out loud, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, who in the hell would ever do that, right? I'm not going to do that. But I think the important thing is fear can be displayed in a number of different fashions. It doesn't have to be displayed like I just displayed it, but it could be just in not saying anything at all, right? Fear can be demonstrated through just not saying anything at all, not communicating with our team, not showing them that positive attitude. And unfortunately, when we do show fear or we don't show anything at all, and our team becomes worried or starts making up stories in their head about, oh my God, what's going on? This is crazy. What happens is then no one can act. When we're in a state of fear, everyone's heard of fight or flight. Well, that's not a great place to be if you're trying to make critical decisions, right? And so we may experience that fear when something first happens, but we've got to work through that to get back into a positive mindset in order to effectively make decisions and lead through a critical time. And so as you think about that, think back on times when, something didn't go right, something broke, and just take yourself through kind of that emotional, call it kind of roller coaster, if you will. Just take yourself back like, okay, I felt the fear. Then how did I react? Where did I go? What do you think my team thought? All of these things. And the reason I ask you to kind of think back on this is that's what's ultimately going to help us into the future. It's going to help us navigate these situations where, for lack of a better term, we are out of control, right? Because we're emotional. That's going to happen. But the key is, and with our attitude and the way that we can direct that, we can then gain back control of the situation and where we're heading. And so, to me, it all starts with the attitude because that's what initially happens, right? Something initially happens. Now, how are we going to, one, acknowledge the fear, but also put it aside because we know that we can't lead with fear. We also can't lead being fearful because ultimately that's going to put our team in a state of panic. We can't do that. So, unfortunately, as leaders, that's the responsibility that you have. And that also goes for if you're leading yourself. You're not allowed to do that. You can feel it, but then you've got to work through it. And we've all got to be aware of the role that our attitude is going to play to set us up for success. If we can't get control of our attitude, we're going to struggle mightily to get anything done and to move our team forward. The second one, again, goes along with that positive attitude, but it's over-index in care. Over-index in care. So when we think about a time of crisis where we know that our team could have a little bit of anxiety, could have a little fear, different things like that, what do we need to do? Well, we need to show up. And care isn't, well, I care about them. No, you have to show them. And we show people we care by spending time with them, talking to them. Most importantly, listening to them. All of these things are what demonstrate care as a leader. Again, your people, in a time of crisis or a time of uncertainty, they're looking to you to reassure them that everything's going to be okay. The more that we care about the people we lead, the better our results will be. I know that sounds silly, right? So hold on. I just got to care more about the people, and the results will take care of themselves. Yes, I firmly believe that. If that is truly our belief, then that is the way that we should lead as well. Our goal is to deliver the best possible customer service to our people and allow the results to take care of themselves. And we do this by caring about them, by putting in the work. Again, yes, talking to people, listening to people, being present, being visible, those are all actions. Care is not a passive thing. It's very difficult to care about somebody and yet never talk to them. The care that we provide ultimately provides security for our team and helps them to eliminate their fears as well. Because when everybody has eliminated their fears, we can work together as a team to accomplish whatever it is that we're setting out to accomplish even in the face of adversity. Care is what will carry us forward. And whether you lead a team or you meet with customers all day long, at the end of the day, the more you care, the better your results will be. What if in everything you did, you said, I'm going to care more about this than anything else? This is true in all aspects of our life. I've told you the story about getting the kids ready in the morning. When I go into it and say, hey, I'm going to be the best dad ever, guess what usually happens? They listen to me. No, they don't. They sort of listen to me. But again, it's all rolled into my attitude when I enter the situation and the level of care that I bring to others. Again, both of those things, completely our choice. Both of those things will help you lead through crisis. It'll also really help you lead through good times. It doesn't matter what the time is if those are the two things that you're focused on. And we all have the choice to do that. We don't have to have any special superpower. We don't have to be the best at talking to people. We've just got to put in the effort. Just be open to doing it and see what happens. Trust me, you will have a great result. The third thing to think about, especially when we're in crisis, especially when times get tough, is one step back to take two forward. So we go into a situation, we experience the fear, we work through that with our positive attitude. We understand that we need to care, we need to show up for our people so we can eliminate their fears. And then it's time to really look at the problem. It's time to analyze what is actually going on here. One of the examples we use a lot is being a fire preventer instead of a fire starter. So oftentimes when we get into crisis, we just want to do a bunch of different things to feel like we're busy, to feel like we're actually solving something. When at the end of the day, we need to get less busy for a moment to analyze what is actually going on. Why is there a crisis? Now, sometimes it's not, why is there a crisis? Why have we created this? It may be an outside source that we don't really have any control of, but then we need to take one step back to analyze, all right, if these are the facts, this is what is going on, this is what we are seeing, how are we going to navigate through that? How are we going to prevent fires from happening with this new set of circumstances? When we take that step back, the question we need to ask ourselves is, what would I need to focus on so that we could get better in this situation? Due to the current situation, due to this crisis, due to this tough time that we're in, how do we make it an opportunity? How do we figure out how we're going to navigate? One example. So, as many of you know, everything in this world seems to be getting more expensive. If anybody's went to the grocery here lately, my word. Why does milk and eggs cost so much money? I don't understand. There's only 12 of them. What's going on here? So everything's getting more expensive. One thing in our business that's getting more expensive is a lead. We spend a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month to bring in leads. Well, the math equation, you can only spend so much money on a lead because then there's a conversion. So if you bring in 10 and your conversion rate's 50%, well, you only converted 5, but you paid for all 10 leads. So automatically, when your conversion rate's 50%, you doubled the cost of your lead that you actually converted. Okay? So this math equation is going up. That is a situation, that is a crisis, that is a thing we have to navigate through. So what do we need to do? Well, I've been on, I don't know how many phone calls over the last couple of weeks of like, okay, if this is the case, if Google is not getting less expensive, they actually got 30% more expensive this year. If they're getting more expensive, we also know that that is where everybody is going. How do we navigate through this? I was on a call yesterday, and the guy says, we need to go where no one else is. Okay, let's figure that out. Again, one step back, right? We're not going to panic and say, crap, this is the worst. Yeah, okay, it sucked. Leads are getting more expensive. Okay, we've got it. But now, how do we shift our focus? A lot of times it's going back to the basics. Well, we've got a massive customer list. We have communication tools where we can reach out to them. How do we reactivate the people that already know, like, and trust us? How do we look at a potential offering we have and look at it a little bit differently to see if maybe that could bring in other business? All of these things are things that we're thinking about. Why? Because there's an issue and we've got to solve it. The same thing goes with if you're leading a department and you say, I am just so overly busy. What are you overly busy doing? It's always my first question. What are you overly busy doing? Are you focused on the right things? Or has it been one of those things where things have changed, yet we haven't changed, and we find ourselves fighting all of these fires that if we just took one step back, we could put out the damn fire. Then we ultimately become less busy, and we can focus on the problems at hand. What are the most important things that determine your success? As leaders, we have to discover this. Because as you all know, we, as a business, have changed a lot. And sometimes changing really fast breaks things. We can't look at everything like we used to look at it. It's different, and that's okay. But we've got to solve different problems. And again, all of those different problems that we have could be considered a crisis. So we work through this exact process. Do we do it perfectly every time? No. But this is what we're striving for. This is what we can all strive for. So we take our one step back to take our two steps forward, which leads us to the fourth thing. Where is our focus when we take that step back? Is it on better or is it on more? So what I have found in this lovely industry that we're in is a lot of our crises are based on not having enough of something, right? Not enough people, don't have enough vans, don't have enough this, don't have enough of that, don't have enough, right? Just don't ever have enough of anything. Well, guess what? I've been at it 13 years. I ain't ever solved that problem. And what I've learned is that the focus should be placed on getting better. We don't need more of something until we have maxed out our performance at a certain level. So as we think about that, where are we looking at crisis or issues and saying, we need more? What if we took that one step back and said, what if we got better? A lot of it is we confront discomfort. So we come up against adversity and we look for a short-term fix that will immediately make us comfortable again. And oftentimes, adding more presents itself as adding comfort, right? Okay, well, if I just had this many more things, everything would be all right. Would it? Spending the time digging into what the actual root cause of the problem is what is ultimately going to move us forward. It's what is ultimately going to pull us there. So think about that. In your day-to-day, in instances where there is what could be viewed as adversity or crisis, what are all the things that you could do today to get just a little bit better? And would that pull you ultimately to where you need to be? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to working through adversity, we've got to look inside, right? Adversity has presented itself, and we have the choice to fight through. So we take that step back. We observe the entire situation. We look for where we can get better. A process can get better. We as individuals can get better. The way that we look at it, we could view it in a different light. All of these things. And then the last piece is once we figure out what we need to do, once we know what the bigger issue is, then we act with urgency. The one thing that I have seen propel people more than anything else is when they have a positive attitude and they move. They understand that speed is on their side. Now, that doesn't mean run in and wreck a bunch of stuff. Again, you would have already taken your step back, looked and found out where I need to attack, and then you go. Then you move. Because as a leader, it's your responsibility to set the pace. Is your team one that doesn't really know what the problem is, just kind of deals with it? We're not talking to them enough, so they, are fearful of certain things that maybe they shouldn't even be fearful about, but we just needed to sit down and talk with them and kind of alleviate that fear, and we're just kind of going through the motions, right? How do we set that pace? You see, speed also helps eliminate fear. Everybody's had that instance where, you've got your to-do list and you check off half of it and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm moving in the right direction. Well, the same thing goes for when we identify an issue or a problem. Identify, we come up with a plan, and then we go. We move. Where can you work faster to identify these issues, eliminate that fear, use your attitude to influence others, and then act? Speed. That's how we create urgency. That's how we move organizations forward, how we move teams forward. Is at the end of the day, we have to do something. We've got to act. Being passive, being complacent is not going to move you anywhere. So what does that urgency look like? Where can you bring some of it to the team? Because the more urgency you bring, the more influence you gain. I don't know about you, but I'm probably not going to follow someone that is very slow, reactive. I'm going to look for the person who is ready to go, has a plan, and is making things happen. That's who we all want to follow, right? We want to follow the person that's making things happen. We make things happen with the urgency that we bring to the situation. As we think about crisis, as we think about tough times, they're coming. All right? We're not going to escape tough times. We're not going to escape broken process, broken procedure, things that need fixed. But with our attitude, every opportunity to fix something is an opportunity to get better. Every opportunity is a chance to show someone that you care, to demonstrate that you are there in their corner. They don't have anything to worry about. You are going to help them in any way, shape, or form that you can, because that's what leaders do. That's what you have signed up for. And the people that rise to the top are the people that understand that. How am I going to impact as many people as I humanly possibly can? And then once we get their trust, once we have their buy-in, once they understand that we are in their corner, we step back, form a plan, understand all of the workings which could be contributing to the so-called crisis. Even if it is external and we don't have control over it, what plan do we have to move forward? We focus on better, not more. More will come, but there is a huge gap between where we are now and how much better we could be. It's your job as the leader to make your team believe that. It is possible, because I'm going to be right here the entire time, working with you to get you there. It can be done. There is nothing that can't be done. And lastly, we act. We move. We get things done. Because that is how we create the buy-in and ultimately pull our team towards their potential. Again, we will all face tough times. If we focus on these 5 things, it's my belief that you can get through any tough time. You can achieve whatever it is that you want. Yes, some things look bigger than others. Some things are tougher than others. But the more that we face adversity and overcome, the stronger we become. The less fear we have about these situations. There may even come a day where you look for this. You try to find discomfort. You try to find a crisis because you know that by finding them, by taking them head on, is truly the only way to get any better.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get connected, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. As always, keep growing out there.